Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this Macro 4 webinar on Columbus DW version 8.4. Okay, so as a courtesy, before we start, a couple of housekeeping items. Please mute your phone unless you have a question, in which case do feel free to ask. You can also use the Q&A option or text chat within your WebEx controls to ask questions, which we will try to answer. And finally, we'll be covering questions at the end of this session if required. Okay, this is the agenda then. So just run through a few of these items for you. So we're going to start off with a couple of introductions. And then we'll be running through the updated Columbus DW version 8.4 features before providing a demo of the plugin-less web user interface. And then we'll be letting you know the next steps to upgrade to version 8.4 of the product. And all this, of course, will be followed by a Q&A session at the end, as I mentioned already. Okay, so I'm Phil Oldfield, a client services consultant at Macro 4, and offering technical account management for our products and services.
So good afternoon, I'm Sam Dix. I'm also a client services consultant here at Macro 4 alongside Phil Oldfield.
Hello, good morning. This is Vinod Devkar from MasterCard. I'm working in live production support team.
Great, thanks for that.
Okay, so let's look at some of the headline features then in the new version of Columbus DW. So a document redaction for GDPR. Now this has been improved for server-side dynamic index and free text search redaction. And in terms of cloud object storage, we've added support for Google Cloud Object Storage, and so just to give you the full list, we now support Google, Microsoft, IBM, Amazon, and Swift. Plus, on some cloud object storage platforms, we mark our objects as being locked, and this is the intention that they can't be deleted by anybody but us. Okay, and enhanced document viewing without browser plugins. Now, I'm going to hand over to Sam, my colleague Sam, to demonstrate this new feature for you now.
Great, thanks, Phil. Okay, let's switch around to some sessions I've got here. This particular session, Internet Explorer, is running an old version of 8.4, and I'll use that as like a base level to be able to show you what we do and don't have around there. And then in Edge, I have the latest version, which we'll be working with fully. So first of all, let's go to a document list. In this particular case, I'm using our demonstration data. I'll be using something different in this particular one itself. But first of all, let's talk about exports. So in terms of exporting, let me just do a quick search here for a company called Data Metrics. And first of all, let's show you the export in this particular case. So within the web user interface, I've got the export button here. And if I go to export, it helps if I click it correctly, I can export all or highlighted items and go to file or printer. However, if I go to options, what this shows you is that I'm only exporting the match list entries, not the documents themselves. So previously, I'd have to have the plugin to be able to do that. So let's switch around to this Edge version, Microsoft Edge Viewer. And I'm using the plugin, so using this plugin list itself. So let's go and have a look at the export option here. Again, using this particular version, if I start a new export, this does look like how you'd expect it within the plugin. I'm going to say highlighted items only, and instead of a table of search results, we've got the export document pages. So if I then click next on here, I can then have the option to export to PDF and take that and move that to, for example, to download as file. What I'm going to show you is actually an interesting feature as well. Let's pick some different formats here. I'm going to have a metacode document, a text document, a scanned image, and then another metacode document. And I'm going to do the export again. So let's start a new export. coming through highlighted items, export document pages. I'm going to say PDF in this particular case. You can do plain text or the original document format itself, but I'm going to show you this here. Export as PDF to a file. There's a few options here, a couple of zip options, which is fairly new, but also in this particular case, I'm going to have a single PDF containing all the documents. Click Finish, and Columbus has generated that. If I click Download File and click Open, and I get the PDF, and I get a PDF of the document, the Metacode document converted to PDF, several pages there. And this is really neat. Look at this. This is now a text document. What was going from a Metacode Advanced print document to a text document, through to a scanned image, and now another Metacode document, all exported into one PDF. It's a quite neat feature there, which is useful. So I say that's the first option. Without the plugin, we do have access to the exports as we used to have with the plugin itself. Now let's take a look at dynamic indexes. For those of you that use dynamic indexes, they can be a very useful and powerful feature. So in this particular case with the older version, I'll switch back to my Internet Explorer version here. If I come into the dynamic indexes, the only real option I've got is to load or save. So if I click on load, I can load through a dynamic index which has been pre-shared by an administrator. The administrator set those up and they're available. And that's the only option I've got. I can use them, I can't set them up. So let's go back to Edge and have a look here. And let me just select one particular document at the top there. And if I go through to manage indexes now, I've got the option to create new, edit, copy and edit, that side of things. So let's load one through and go to one here, which is picking up the number of, or the cost of premium rate calls. And that's being created there. The dynamic index is available and populated. That's great. Well, what happens if we want to add a new one? Click on the button. And here, as you can see, I've got the normal option you'd expect, either from CExplore or from a browser using the plugin itself. So in this particular case, I'm going to actually use this to create a phone number index. So this is where a customer, maybe you're trying to find a customer by their phone number instead of their normal indexes that you've got available. So let me go document level indexing, and let's use the pickup relative to. So I'm going to start typing here. And there you go, it's found the relevant text string, and I'm going to then highlight to this particular area to pick up the phone number. Click OK, hit return, and then that's working. These particular documents aren't working because the telephone number string isn't found on them. But these ones are available, they're found, and I've been able to create and use a dynamic index without even having the plugin installed. Some of you don't use dynamic indexes, some of you do. In this particular case, you do not need the plugin for that feature. And let's take a look at another document feature itself. If I double click into this document, I don't know how many of you use Notes. Again, Notes can be a very powerful feature. So I'm using the viewer here, and I've got the option of making a pop-up note. So in this particular case, sorry, not a pop-up note, I said it's actually a text note. That's available. That's been made by me. And I can also create pop-ups as well. Here's a pop-up note. I don't know whether you've ever seen one of these. Either pop-up notes available, click Save on there, and what it means is that as you hover over that within the document, that's available. And just to mention, if you haven't seen notes before, if you export the document, those notes aren't exported with the document itself. It's sometimes useful to have an on-document on-document note that's available. So again, even without the plugin, we can support that functionality. Let's move on to just another feature which until recently I wasn't aware of, and it's what we call the grep feature, and it's actually a search which is extremely useful. In certain circumstances, it is a certain customer I know that uses this and has used this in the past. So the grep feature is this little search button here. Actually, it's called officially Find All Lines Containing. And what this enables you to do is on a very long report, for example, you may want to pick out multiple items from the report itself. And if you did a free text search, then it will highlight, it will find them one after the other. In this particular case, let me give an example. I want to look, customers called in and they want to look for phone calls that were made around 8 o'clock. So if I do a search in this particular case, I then get, hopefully you can see this on the screen there, I then get a list of items where, in this particular case, we can see the phone call started at 8 o'clock. And if I click on that line, it takes me directly to that line. I click on another line, click that information, and it will bring the information to the screen. You can also highlight that text and export that as well. Extremely useful feature, and one I wish I'd known about earlier, actually, because it's a very useful feature. Okay, so the reason we're pushing the plugin or plugin-less itself, web user interface, is that the plugin itself is Internet Explorer only, and also some organizations do restrict the plugin rollout or don't allow them at all. There are a couple of features that we do have that aren't supported with the plugin-less viewer at the moment, and it's worth calling them out. The first one is multi-document printing. So the ability to highlight multiple documents and select print. So that's not available in this EA version, but it soon will be in the next. We're hoping to patch that later, as soon as we possibly can. Instead of doing that, what you can do is what I mentioned earlier, which is to do an export into PDF, and within the PDF itself, then you have the option of printing all the documents that you've multi-selected itself. It's available in that way. The other option is email. We can't provide an email document at the moment without the plugin, purely because of the restrictions within the browsers. Now, we're working away in the background to resolve that a different way, and we'll let you know as soon as we've got that available. If, however, I click into a document and then download that as PDF, within the PDF I say all pages, it comes up within the browser itself, and within there I have the option to share, and one of those options is to go through and email it itself. So there is a particular workaround for that. So certain power users of Columbus DW and that need those particular plugin features, for example, the emailing from within the document, they would have to have the plugin. However, the vast majority of users, virtually everything else, say apart from those two features, is covered within this latest code without the plugin itself. So that really makes life a lot easier. One last feature that Phil mentioned was around GDPR. And let's just remind you of those features themselves just very quickly. If I come into the documents here and turn on the preview pane, let me just zoom in, just okay that message there. Let me just zoom in on here, and you can see straight away that I have role-based retrieval of documents. In this particular case, I've logged in with a different user, and the address has been redacted. In this, if I scroll down, the phone number has been redacted as well in this particular item. So just a reminder there that within Columbus DW, you can have role-based redaction of documents and data, which is an extremely useful feature. Okay, so that's enough for me on there. We just wanted to give you a flavour of that particular, some of those features that are available within the latest web user interface code and without the plugin installed, which certainly for your infrastructure teams can make life a lot easier. Let me hand you back to Phil now to carry on.
Okay, thanks, Sam. So, useful demo as always, and I think that's a pretty good reminder of some of the features that you might not have been using as they required the plugin, but now you can use those plugin free. So thanks for that, Sam. Okay, so in terms of next steps then, version 8.410 is about to enter early availability status, and as always we're looking for customers to test this on their own non-production systems, so please do let us know if this is something that you're interested in. Now, Columbus DW can be upgraded in situ or onto a new server, and you can directly upgrade from version 7 or 8 to version 8.4. The base upgrade is included within your existing support and maintenance package, which is good news. However, it is recommended that Macro4's professional services team carry out the upgrade if you're not an advanced user. And to upgrade, please arrange to speak, as always, with your local technical account manager. Okay, so as promised, we've now reached the Q&A section. So if you have a question to ask, then now is the time to do it. And you can use, you can either speak to us if you're feeling particularly brave, or use the text chat function or Q&A function in the WebEx controls itself to ask your question. So if you would like to ask a question, then please do so. I'll just let you know, Sam, that we did receive a question whilst you were doing your demonstration as well. So that came in via the text route, so I'll ask that one now. So this was all to do with the plugin. So somebody, Joy it was, I think, who raised this one. She's saying, if we're already using the plugin, will this version work with the new version?
Okay, thanks, Joy, for your question. It's a good question, yeah. So if you're using a version 8 plugin already, then that would work with the existing code. However, we also have the option within the configuration to be able to ignore the plugin if it's there. So, if you are using an older plugin, worried about compatibility, then we can just say don't use the plugin at all and use the features that we've already shown you. So thanks for that question. Did I hear somebody raising the voice there? Has anybody else got a question?
Yeah, this is Vinod from VocalLink. So currently we have 7.102a version. So if we want to upgrade to 8.4 and do a pre-test on pre-prod environments, do we need to then get in touch with technical account managers?
Yes, certainly. Yeah,
absolutely.
Thanks for your question there. Certainly, if you contact Phil, or Phil will contact you anyway to take that further. But certainly that's something we can do, and you can upgrade directly from the version you're on there, sir.
Okay. Is it possible to send the new features or a document or something? Then because we have a separate team who use this massively, because I work into production support, where we have a different role to support the live system. But the CDW is used by our service desk. So if we have these features documented, we can send it to the actual team who uses this massively on day-to-day basis.
Absolutely.
It will make sense if they basically use these features or and then we can take this on board and get it tested on pre-prod environments.
Great, yeah, thanks for that, Vinod. Yes, certainly. Yes, Phil will be in contact with you about that, but also it's possible to go into the customer portal at macro4.com and then click on the support icon in there as well, just to anybody else that's on the phone, to be able to self-serve. And from there, once you're registered, you can download the product manuals in there, and the product manuals have got the latest features in there when this particular version goes live as well. But certainly we'd much prefer the personal option to be able to talk with you. Thanks for that, Vinod. Anybody else on the phones? We've had a couple of other questions come in as well. No, okay. So here's a question. Thanks, Linda, for your question. You're saying that you don't use dynamic indexes as such yet. So what are they? So dynamic index can be used to provide, so as well as the normal way of searching on indexes, for example, to search metadata to be able to identify objects and data within Columbus, it's also possible to use free text search, where you could say, go and search for any document containing this particular text. However, a dynamic index enables you to index on particular areas of the document. So, for example, if I wanted to, in the example I showed you there, I had the phone bill, and it had the list of all calls made. Maybe you wanted to pull out the list of all itemized phone numbers that were called in your particular account for a user, and the dynamic index would enable you to do that and then search and extract that information. It's a very powerful feature. Another use of dynamic index is, say, for example, with statements. Maybe you want to extract all of each statement line level item and extract that and have that available, say, for example, into Excel. Sort of a use for dynamic indexing. Whilst I've been talking, James has dropped in a question. Do I need the PDF feature within my license to export as PDF? Phil, have you got an answer on that one?
Okay, thanks Sam. Thanks, James, for your question. Well, the short answer is no. You don't need any extra sort of features in your licenses. The export to PDF feature, which is, I think, the bit that Sam was kind of showing in his demonstration, that's already included in the within your license, but that is different to the output PDF license feature, which is a licensable feature. So that's is a slightly different there.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, well, we're coming to an end here now. Anybody else on the phones that wants to ask a question? You know, we're all friendly here. We're happy to answer any questions you have. Anybody else? No? Okay, well, thank you all for your attendance and those questions as well. And let me just wish you a good day for the rest of the day. Thank you very much.